All right, so thank you so much for joining me for our CarePRO session. I'm Lauren. I'm going to be taking
Andrea.
Perfect. So I'm going to take you through kind of what to expect throughout these next 10 weeks together. But first, I figured we can start out with a little bit of an introduction. So I am Lauren. I am an intern here at the Alzheimer's Association. I will be the main facilitator for this workshop. And then, what is your name and who are you caring for?
My name is Andrea, and I'm taking care of my mom. She has Alzheimer's, and yeah, it's been really hard taking care of her. It really stresses me out a lot. Like, you think it wouldn't, just taking care of someone's basic stuff, but it does. So I really have a hard time with bathing her. Like, I really just wish I knew what to do to deal with the fact that I have to do that, that I have to bathe my mom.
Yeah.
And right now I don't really have any help besides, like, sometimes my brother's helping.
Yeah. Okay.
So, yeah.
Well, I think this workshop will be really great for you. Throughout the 10 weeks, we will kind of talk about stresses that come along with caregiving and different ways to help you cope with that stress, as well as giving you more of a support system to be able to help you, whether that's respite and bringing somebody in or figuring out when it comes time, if it's time to place your mother in a home. But we can go over that steps once the time comes.
Okay.
But first, we can jump right into the material. So the kind of first portion that I'm going to go through is just the goals of the course and kind of the overview of what we're going to be talking about. So this workshop is really just going to focus on you, your thoughts, your feelings, and reactions to being a caregiver, especially to your mother. We know that the situation can be very stressful and at times can be very overwhelming. Therefore, our ideas and suggestions will emphasize ways to be able to manage your stress, particularly your behavior, your thoughts and feelings when it comes to your role as a caregiver. And then this is your workshop manual. This is yours to keep. I just ask that you bring it to each of our sessions just so you can actively participate and follow along. And then also in the back as well, there's going to be a general information and resource section, which is going to contain some of the information and resources that are available to you that will be available throughout this workshop. Okay, so kind of what is going to be taught in this course. I'm going to teach you a wide variety of skills to help modify your thoughts, actions, and feelings so that you can feel better about caregiving, as well as learn how to manage your stress and frustration. And then, so the only thing that I really ask of you is just to actively participate. If you have any questions, please ask. And then, in addition to our 5 in-person meetings, we'll have coach calls on our off weeks. So we are meeting this week. On our off week next week, we will have one telephone coach call. These can be roughly 30 minutes to an hour. We don't put a time lock on it, just whatever you need, we can kind of chat about on our own time. And then, in the last couple meetings of the workshop, we will focus on increasing the amount of pleasure and enjoyment. So you can experience more of that while you are caregiving. So the main goals of CarePRO, to kind of summarize that all up, is to understand how you think about caregiving and how it strongly affects how you respond to your caregiving situation. And then understand that what you do also strongly affects how you respond. And then learn a variety of specific skills or methods, changing your unhelpful thoughts and behaviors. And then learning ways to manage and cope with the challenging behaviors that your loved one exhibits due to the dementia. And then, so what are you looking to achieve throughout this course?
Well, I really want to find a way to deal with all this stress, for sure. The bathing thing, I'd also, if there's some way I can figure out how to go forward with that, like how I mean, I know this class is not about, like, how to bathe your loved one, but, like, in general, like, it's just hard. It's a hard experience for me, so I want help with that. Then I also want to figure out how to bring somebody else into the home to help with caring for my mom, because just right now I can't really step out. I feel terrible whenever I do leave, so I really like to get some help with that.
Perfect. Well, Wonderful. The first section, we are going to be talking about stress and frustration, so we'll be able to cover that, as well as I'll kind of give you some tips on how to maybe approach the bathing situation that will be better for you, better for your mother, and maybe we can kind of find a place where it becomes a little more comfortable for you.
Mm-hmm.
And then as well as maybe bringing somebody in the home, we can talk about respite, and I can give you some resources for that as well.
Okay, great.
So now I'm just going to quickly touch on just some of the workshop rules. So as for attendance, I just ask that you attend each of our 5 sessions in person as well as our coach calls. If for some reason something comes up, you can call us here or you can shoot me an email and we can set something up to give you those materials if you do have to miss a course. And then generally I want to keep the focus in this workshop positive. And despite the stress associated with caregiving, if I look at the workshop issues from a point of view that is too abstract, please don't hesitate to remind me to keep my feet on the floor and be a little more practical. And then with confidentiality, I do not expect any of you to reveal any information in the workshop that could be of a very personal nature. However, occasionally you may want to share something that is very personal to you, and I just ask that we don't discuss any of this outside of our meeting. However, just as stated in the consent form, we cannot guarantee this, so please just be mindful of revealing very personal information. In addition, there are some expectations to confidentiality. We are obligated by law to report child or elder mistreatment to the authorities and to take action to protect individuals if they reveal that they might hurt themselves or someone else. And then also, I don't permit any personal tape recording of the workshop. As explained in the consent forms that you signed, we will occasionally need to do some recording for quality control and supervision purposes only. Does that sound good? Do you have any questions?
That sounds good.
Perfect. All right, so I'm just going to touch on a bit of the overview of dementia.
Okay.
So the term dementia is used to describe the symptoms that occur when the brain is affected by specific diseases and conditions. These include dementias associated with Alzheimer's disease and vascular disease. So dementia is progressive, which means the disease will gradually get worse. And dementia can affect several areas of a person's life, making it difficult to function as usual. So some of these can include memory, mental cognitive changes, behavioral changes, emotional changes. And I'll just kind of touch on these briefly. So for memory and cognitive changes, this loss of memory and associated changes in perception, they may have a hard time reasoning, and intuition are a direct result of deaths in clusters of the nerve cells. And then we have behavioral changes. So a person with dementia can exhibit symptoms such as mumbling or shouting, changes in sex drive. They can have more of an aggressive behavior. Simple interventions can often help to eliminate or reduce these behaviors. And then also with emotional changes, depression, anxiety, suspicions are very common in individuals with dementia. Depression is the most common. These include lack of concentration, loss of interest or pleasure, anxiety. A person with depression should receive help, and there are medications out there and other forms of treatment to help, including keeping them engaged in some meaningful activities that they enjoy. And then, all right, so now we're going to go into kind of the course of the illness and caregiving. So some people find it helpful to classify dementia into different stages of progression of the disease over time. Again, it is important to know that each person with dementia is unique, so no one case is going to be the same. The individual rate of decline and the type of symptoms, like I said, will vary patient to patient. So despite these individual differences, as a caregiver, you all tend to exhibit the same reactions to the caregiving situations. So some common reactions that are listed below are sadness, guilt, anger, confusion, and frustration. And it's important to remember that these reactions are very normal. but they can make the caregiving job a lot more stressful. One of the key goals of this workshop is to teach you a set of skills and tools for coping with the negative reactions that often arise when caring for a loved one with memory problems. So this can at least help you feel a little more in control of your everyday life.
Yeah, that's good. I definitely, the guilt part definitely resonates with me. Like, I feel bad whenever I just go on a walk with my friends because, like, that I am, leaving her. Like, it just, I feel like I feel really guilty about it. So I'm excited to get some tools.
Yeah, we'll definitely give you some tools, and we'll kind of talk a little bit more about that guilt, where that guilt comes from, and kind of what we can do to let you kind of be able to push that guilt down, to be able to live your life and be able to go have a coffee with your friends and not be worried about leaving your mom at home.
Yeah.
And then before I move on, do you have any questions?
I don't know. It's all good.
Perfect. Okay, so the next topic I'm going to touch on, which is kind of what you said earlier about something you want to achieve throughout this course, is dealing with your stress. So this section is going to cover several sources of frustration, irritation, stress, and those other feelings that come along with caregiving. So it is very common for you as a caregiver to experience stress, frustration, sadness, and worry as a result of carrying the responsibilities involved with caring for someone. So it's important to have overall knowledge. So often caregivers or even other family members can lack knowledge about how dementia and related disorders that can cause memory problems impact their loved one's behavior. You may still have your expectations for your mom that she can only partially live up to. So some may even be confused as to why their relative or friend is able to handle some tasks quite well and others not so much. So it's important to be able to kind of gain some more knowledge when it comes to dementia, which is great and what we will do throughout this course. And then also your thoughts and attitudes. So another source of frustration and irritation and stress can be our thoughts and attitudes about the caregiving situation. So for instance, a caregiver may believe that life should be fair and can become irritated by focusing on the unfairness of having to shoulder the responsibilities of caregiving alone. So, or caregivers can have unrealistic expectations on how much care they can provide. And so you may set yourself these really high standards that you can only partially live up to. And that can lead to some stress and frustration. Mm-hmm. And then also the past relationship. A caregiver had with the person that they're caring for may also contribute to the response of being a caregiver. Those having a long-term positive relationship with a relative may be grieving over their relative's inability to remember the many pleasant times that you guys may have once shared. So an example down here says, no matter what I do, my mom won't like it. I don't want to take care of this person, but I have to. Or even my daughter points out how poorly he treated me. It's hard to know if the situation was reversed. I'd be in a nursing home right now. And then lastly, the two other things are skills. So frustration, worry, and stress can continue if you as a caregiver don't have effective skills to reduce some of these reactions. So for example, if we do not know how to communicate effectively, we may passively suppress or express our reactions in an angry and aggressive manner, which is neither helpful to the situation. And then finally, sometimes other people or situations outside our control can contribute to our reaction. So this is particularly true when we are prevented from getting or doing something that we think is important or we sense of security is threatened. All right, so we are going to flip to page 17, and we're going to talk about, and this is something that can really help you with your stress, and that is understanding the importance of relaxation. So caring for another person for a long period of time can be both physically and emotionally draining, and can have some physical consequences of stress on your body. So when you are under a lot of stress, the body releases the primary stress hormone called cortisol. And cortisol is very important because it organizes systems throughout the body, so including the heart, lungs, our metabolism, the immune system. However, when the stressor does last for a very long time, it can contribute to high blood pressure, heart problems, and increased susceptibility to colds and flu. So it's really important to be able to manage that stress so we can avoid things like this. And then also the psychological consequences can include depression, anxiety, helplessness, and also a lack of energy. And these consequences of stress can take away your quality of life by lowering your ability to experience pleasure and a sense of accomplishment. Do you feel like you are dealing with any of these sources of stress or consequences of stress?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've had some high blood pressure before.
Okay.
It's kind of controlled now, so that's good. But I definitely feel like tired a lot, and it can feel hopeless sometimes because there's like no end to this. You know what I mean? I mean, the end is my mom dying, so it's hard.
Okay. Yeah. Well, on this next page, we're actually going to, in 2 pages, we're going to introduce a relaxation exercise that hopefully will kind of help you kind of steer away from that hopelessness and lack of energy by reducing your stress.
Okay.
So the next thing we are going to talk about is, I know we've kind of talked about stress and kind of the negative aspects that come along with stress, but family caregivers often report that there are positive aspects to caregiving too. And so, of course, we would prefer to have these gains from other experiences, yet a growing amount of research indicates that when asked, caregivers can list that they have learned about themselves and their loved ones and their relationships throughout the caregiving journey. So, for example, some caregivers report feeling good about the opportunity to be able to give back. They've learned they have skills, can do things that they never could have imagined. So I kind of want to ask you, what positive aspects have you experienced while caring for your mother?
Yeah, it's been just really nice to be able to give back to her. Like, she just did so much for us kids when we were growing up. She worked really, really hard. And so to be able to take care of her later in life, like, I definitely feel good about that. And yeah, I've learned a lot of things about myself. I don't know, I can't believe that I'm doing this, you know. I am proud of myself for doing all that I have done for her, so.
Good. I'm glad you were able to point out some positive aspects. Those sound really great, and I'm happy that you can correlate some positive things with caregiving, so that's wonderful. So now we are going to jump in to the relaxation exercise. So the first exercise is going to be the signal breath, which is supposed to be aimed at giving you some immediate stress relief and is accomplished by creating a slight increase in tension in your body and taking a deep breath and then letting go of that tension. So I'm going to take us through one round of this signal breath. So if you feel comfortable to do so, we're going to place both of our feet on the ground. You can close your eyes if that is comfortable for you. And we are going to begin. So first I want you to take a deep breath and hold it in for a few moments. Exhale slowly while at the same time mouthing or saying to yourself mentally the word you choose, such as relax, let go, or any other words that suggest letting go of tension. Also, while you're breathing out, try to let your jaw, your shoulders, and your arms go loose and limp. Now let's try it again. This time, I want you to try tightening the muscles in your arms and shoulders or your fists while you are in the process of breathing in and holding your breath. When you relax with the exhalation, you should let all that tension go and say the word that you have chosen. All right, one last time, I want you to take a deep signal breath and hold it while you are tightening your muscles. Slowly let it out, allowing your body to relax and say the word that you have chosen. When you are ready, we'll come back to the room and you can open your eyes. How was that experience for you?
It was good. It really helped me calm down. Yeah.
Perfect. Perfect. Is there anything that you currently do to help you relax?
Well, I go on walks.
Mm-hmm.
I really like to go on walks, but again, I do feel guilty sometimes, like leaving my mom. But walking always makes me feel better. And I try and listen to music too when I can. So
good.
Yeah.
The great thing about the signal breath is, since you did say that you felt a little bit guilty leaving your mom on a walk, until we can find a way to get you out on those walks without feeling guilty, whether it's bringing somebody in, this signal breath can be done anywhere. So you can do it first thing when you wake up in the morning. You can do it before you go to sleep. If maybe there's a stressful situation that's happening midday, you can kind of remove yourself and just take yourself through a couple signal breaths.
Mm-hmm.
And on this page, it gives you some 4 easy steps to remember, which is get in a relaxed position, 4 breaths in through your nose, out through your mouth, mouthing that relaxating word or phrase as you exhale, and then gripping as you breathe in and release as you exhale on the last 2 breaths, of course, if you would like. So throughout this program, I'm going to help you find ways to cope with your stress. We'll find ways to overcome the challenging when it comes to bathing your mother, as well as we will talk about some resources when it comes to respite care and bringing somebody in to be able to help you.
Okay.
And at the next workshop, we will go more into depth about respite care. But I do want to give you some resources right now, and I know you mentioned that you were looking for a little more support because right now you only get a little bit from your brothers. We do have support groups, and I think these would be great for you to attend. They're all listed here, and you can find one that is near your home, and it lists the date and time, and you are more than welcome to just show up. You don't need to reserve a spot. And these are great because you are able to talk about your situation with people that are there for the same reason. They're able to understand, and you can get maybe some advice to somebody that has been in your position. So if you have any more questions about those, we can talk about it on our coach call next week, which I will have you sign up here in just a moment.
Okay.
But is there any other questions before we conclude this workshop?
No, that's it. I don't know anybody else who's caregiving, so I'm looking forward to connecting with some other caregivers.
Perfect. Well, I look forward to our coach call next week, and thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.